That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, guys. Everyone just saw, pretty much everywhere on Twitter, there have been clips of Trey Lance just completely balling out at his pro day. And I'm going to say a couple things here. First, I have loved Trey Lance all offseason, especially at the price he is currently going in these Superflex rookie drafts. Secondly, while yes, I am extremely excited about Trey Lance, we need to pump the brakes a little bit on these pro day videos. Now, of course, we're going to get into everything with Trey Lance this video. I think that there's a ton of good stuff to talk about here. But before we do, I just want to let everyone know that our official Superflex rookie rankings for the 2021 class are now available on Patreon. The one quarterback rankings should be available either today or tomorrow. They are definitely going to come out this weekend. And outside of that, if you have not already, go down there, subscribe to the channel. What are you doing? We are going to make sure that we are making a video every single day and diving in deep with every single one of these rookies before your rookie draft. But that's it. Let's get into this and let's start talking about Trey Lance. And the first thing that I just want to talk about is something I know a lot of people are not necessarily going to focus in on, and this is going to be the size with Trey Lance. Now, y'all know, while yes, I love Kyler Murray, what we did not want to see with Trey Lance, and we knew that he had the height, that wasn't a question, but we did not want to see him come in and be a little bit underweight, because generally those rushing quarterbacks, if they are a little undersized, you are just having to be cautious. You're having to be a little bit worried every single time they scramble outside the pocket, because unless you're a Kyler Murray where for whatever reason you can just avoid every major hit, you want to make sure that you have the frame where if a linebacker who is 50 pounds more than you comes in and crunches you from the side, you need to make sure that quarterback is going to be able to get up. And no, I never thought that Trey Lance was going to be as small as Kyler Murray. We did not expect that in the slightest, but we wanted to make sure that he hit some minimum thresholds, which he definitely did. So he came in at 6'3", and the more important number is the fact that he weighs in at 224 pounds. Now, if we go through and look at some other rushing quarterbacks in the NFL, you have Lamar Jackson, obviously the prototypical rushing quarterback, is going to be 6'2", 216. So Trey Lance, bigger than him. Then we go, okay, what is Deshaun Watson looking like? Deshaun Watson, 6 foot 2 inches, 221 pounds. So Trey Lance has the size. He's not Cam Newton, but we don't need to be worried about him deciding to continuously take off and rack up fantasy points on the ground. So let's check that box out of the way. And another thing that I want to talk about is the fact that Trey Lance is only 20 years old. And now I will say a few things here. One, finally, the Dynasty community comes around on the fact that age with these rookies coming in means so much. I can't tell you how many arguments I got in the last offseason telling people that, hey, we don't want to be drafting Keyshawn Vaughn. Keyshawn Vaughn is going to be a 23-year-old rookie. If you look at the historical hit rates of a rookie coming in at that age in this round, they are extremely low. And you have no idea how many people came out and they told me, Mason, are you an idiot? Keyshawn Vaughn's only 23. You're going to have him for the next 7 years. Just not understanding the importance of a rookie running back coming in at 20 years old versus 23 years old. But now, pretty much everyone in the Dynasty community understands this. Pretty much you don't even need to talk about this. But let's bring it up just quickly here. And Trey Lance is only 20 years old. This is not something you see with a quarterback. This is very rarely seen. Sam Darnold, I believe, was drafted at 20 years old. I know Sam Darnold was definitely the youngest starting quarterback during his first start of his NFL career. Now, looks like Trey Lance is coming in. Trey Lance is checking that box. And no, we are not excited going, oh my God, you're going to get Trey Lance for an extra 3 years in your Dynasty League. No, that's not what it means at all. What it means is the fact that Trey Lance is already this good. He's only 20 years old. So while these other quarterbacks have had to maybe stay an extra year or two in college to continue to develop their game, Trey Lance is right there with them now, and he has just more room to grow. It just indicates the fact that he is most likely going to have a much higher ceiling. This is why we love DJ Moore coming into the NFL. But let's go through, and I know we've kind of been all over the place in this video so far, but let's give it some structure. I pretty much want to give y'all a background on how I am trying to scout these quarterbacks coming in from a dynasty context, because way too often do we have people playing dynasty fantasy football thinking that they're real life NFL GMs, thinking that for whatever reason they can be full-time accountants, and then on the back half of their time they can watch 15 minutes of quarterback film and go, okay, this guy has what it takes, this guy does not. No, that job is up to the scouts. That job is up to the general managers. As dynasty owners, there are a few things that we can do to make sure that we are maximizing our dynasty value. And that's, we need to see quarterbacks checking a couple major boxes. Obviously, they need to check the box that they are going to get the opportunity. That is by far and away the most important thing. But once we know they are getting that opportunity, we need a couple things here. We need job security. Job security is going to come in the form of a nice contract, i.e. a Dak Prescott just signed, or getting very high draft capital, i.e. look at Daniel Jones in 2019. Even though he's been disappointing, he is in no regard going to be having to battle for his job this year. I mean, he is going to be able to start the entire 2021 season. So you can get it through the draft, or you can go out and you can get it through a contract. Trey Lance right now going to be a top 10 pick, so he checks that box where he's going to have the job security, he's going to get the opportunity. And then the next box that we need to be checking is we need to make sure, hey, does Trey Lance have the rushing ability? Because the rushing ability is so important in fantasy, where if we go through and look at the top 10 scoring quarterbacks in the 2021 season, let's break it down. Points per game. You have Dak Prescott, obviously a great rusher. Kyler Murray, obviously a great rusher. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes can run the ball. We all know that. Russell Wilson, don't need to say anything there. Aaron Rodgers, our first pocket passing quarterback. Then Deshaun Watson, then Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady. So pretty much if you want to be one of those top level quarterbacks, you desperately need to have the rushing capability. We also saw this with just Jalen Hurts this year. Y'all know I was drafting Jalen Hurts everywhere last offseason because we knew, hey, if this quarterback gets the opportunity, he is going to provide us a ton of fantasy success based on what he can do with the ground. And he only had 4 games starting, but during that 4-game stretch, he was the quarterback 7. So we go through and go, okay, Trey Lance, let's pull up some college stats real quick. I assume that everybody knows where this is going. Trey Lance, not necessarily the best passing stats in college, but we know the correlation between passing statistics and NFL success. They're not necessarily that high at the quarterback position, where he only had 174 passing yards, but 9.7 yards per attempt, 28 total touchdowns, and no interceptions. More importantly, though, this is what we want to see. This is what everybody already knows. Averaged 70 rushing yards a game and 14 touchdowns total on the ground at 19 years old. So obviously this is massive. We don't need to talk about anything other than the fact that he is an elite rusher, a quarterback that is going to get the opportunity. So he is going to be an immediate fantasy football player that's going to be making your lineup. And on top of this, we know that if we look at this yards per attempt at 19 years old, I mean, it's impressive. It's very impressive. Where we go through and let's look at the other top 4 quarterbacks in this NFL draft and what they were able to do at 19 years old. So Justin Fields at 19 years old really didn't play. Mac Jones, 19 years old, really didn't play. And then you have Trevor Lawrence, obviously a stud, but his YPA was down there at 9.0. Zach Wilson had his down there at 7.5. So I think that anybody wanting to critique the passing ability, the passing efficiency of Trey Lance needs to kind of take a step back and go, okay, I mean, he has the stats. The film scouts loved what he did at the Pro Day. He has the rushing capability. He is going to get an opportunity to start at the NFL level, and he is going to have the job security. He's checking every single one of these boxes. And what I want to do now is I want to go through and look at some possible landing spots, because the last box you want to be checked when we're evaluating these quarterbacks coming into the NFL is you want a nice situation. You want them going to a coaching staff that has a track record of being able to develop quarterbacks, preferably a team that has some elite level weapons around them. And right now, grinding the mocks has Trey Lance as the 6th overall player. And what this means is this is a website that looks at mock drafts across the entire internet. And they just compile them. They create like an average draft position for these NFL mock drafts. So Trey Lance coming in at 6th overall. And we look at some teams in this range. Now, obviously, there are going to be teams trading around. That's not a question. But you have the Atlanta Falcons at 4. I think we can all agree that would be a fantastic situation with both Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. I really wouldn't even care if he had to sit behind Matt Ryan for a year, just because when he did get the opportunity, I mean, he'd be an elite rushing quarterback with 2 of the premier wide receivers at the NFL level. Then at 7, you have the Detroit Lions, and I know y'all probably don't want to hear this being brought up, and y'all are going to say, Mason, they just traded for Jared Goff. What are you talking about? No, they did not trade for Jared Goff. They included Jared Goff in the trade to match contracts and to make sure that there was not really going to be any controversy in LA. I mean, Jared Goff was just a throw-in. The trade was Matthew Stafford for 2 first-round picks. So the Detroit Lions can easily come out here and decide to use that 7th overall pick on Trey Lance if they get the opportunity. Then if the Lions decide to pass up on him, you have Carolina at 8. And oh my gosh, if Trey Lance lands in Carolina with the 8th overall pick, I am all in. I think we would be moving him up to our 2nd player overall in Dynasty rookie drafts, because he would be throwing the ball to DJ Moore. He would have Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. He would, more importantly, be playing for both Joe Brady and Matt Rule. And a quick side note, Joe Brady was actually at his pro day today. So, of course, we love to see that. But for whatever reason, if they decide to pass on him at 8, or possibly Denver decides to trade up, Denver is going to be the next team here at 9. And this is another situation. I mean, a great offensive line. They have Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler stretching the field, and in my opinion, an elite receiving tight end in Noah Fant. Now, that's another situation that you would absolutely love. And the wild card in all of this, and the team that I think could possibly make a move to get up here, would be the San Francisco 49ers, who are currently sitting at 12, and there's no way Trey Lance makes it to 12. That is obvious, even though we've seen some of those mock drafts earlier this offseason where they had Trey Lance falling to 12 with all the positive buzz that we got from him at his pro day. I don't think that's a possibility, but it is a possibility for the 49ers to possibly swing a deal, maybe say with the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are obviously accumulating assets for the future, so maybe we see the 49ers trade that 12th overall pick as well as a future pick for the Detroit Lions 7th overall, and the Lions would really be in a great situation with that, just stockpiling those assets, and the 49ers would be another fantastic situation for Trey Lance with, in my opinion, the best tight end in the NFL. Then Brandon Ayuk, who was a fantastic rookie in year 1. Then Deebo Samuel as well, a player that has so much yards after the catch ability. So here we are just looking at pretty much every team in this range being a great situation for Trey Lance to find himself in. And I think it's not crazy to say, if we saw him in one of these situations, he could end up as the quarterback 1 in this rookie class. And I know that's crazy. I understand. That is just absolutely absurd to say. And I am by no means saying that Trey Lance is going to be the most talented NFL quarterback in this class. But strictly for fantasy, when you have an elite rushing quarterback coming in, if he found himself in a situation where he was possibly playing for the Carolina Panthers and Matt Rule, if he was playing for the Denver Broncos and had those elite weapons, or the San Francisco 49ers and had those elite weapons, he checks every single box. He's getting the opportunity. He has the job security. He also has the elite rushing capability. And on top of all of this, he's finding himself in a great situation. Now, this is why Trey Lance is probably going to be my most owned player from the first round in these rookie drafts, because right now it looks like you're probably going to be able to get him around that 5th, 6th pick overall in those Superflex leagues. And I will also say, for everybody playing in 1 quarterback leagues, Trey Lance is the perfect guy for you, because in a 1 quarterback league, you're going all out for ceiling. You don't care about the floor. And Trey Lance has that quarterback 1 overall ceiling if he finds himself in one of these great landing spots.